Amy, is that new with the consent pop-up for the Zoom recordings?
I was wondering if you heard that. Did you hear it or did something just pop up?
Yeah, well, I heard it and it popped up. I'd never seen that before.
Me either. Yeah, it's new.
Good old Zoom,
It
updates
creeped
by
me
the
out the
day,
first
right?
time. I was like, who is that? Where did that come from?
Constant adoption to new technology. Well, that's a perfect segue in. I want to welcome everybody for joining TMC Tech Talk today. I'm Tom Gallucci, and I want to welcome you into the latest edition, where we're going to dive into a new approach to the mortgage origination ecosystem. And who better to dive into that discussion with than our longtime partners at Black Knight, who really are at the forefront of driving that new approach to the origination ecosystem and the mortgage side here. So just leading into today's discussion, as a reminder, this is TMC Tech Talk, where every other Thursday I'm joined by a special guest in mortgage technology to talk about current events, new innovations, consumer experience, and we also like to spotlight our guest organization's direct contributions to pushing forward innovation within the mortgage industry. So as always, any comments, suggestions on future discussion topics or industry leaders that you'd like to see as a guest here on Tech Talk, you can always feel free to drop those suggestions into the chat, or you can reach out to me or anybody here at the Mortgage Collaborative team directly. As a reminder too, today's discussion is going to be recorded. So we'll have both podcast as well as video versions from our YouTube channel distributed back out to attendees as a part of the follow-up from today's discussion. And as always, any questions, comments, feedback you have for myself or for Craig today, welcome you to drop those into the chat or Q&A functions directly into Zoom. And should we have any time at the tail end of our discussion, be happy to bring those questions up on your behalf. So just as a lead into today's discussion, we constantly hear about the Apple ecosystem or the Android ecosystem, and now there's a new term, the mortgage origination ecosystem. And while we all know lenders need automation, configurability, scalability, and performance as well, if they're going to be competitive in the future and in the current state of the mortgage industry, is it really possible for lenders to benefit from all of these advanced features and do so within one integrated ecosystem? And as I mentioned at the beginning of the discussion, who better to join us and kind of speak to this question than our partners at Black Knight. So before introducing Craig in, just a quick high-level overview on Black Knight in case you've been living under a rock for the last year plus while we've been quarantining. But Black Knight, longtime collaborative preferred partner, is really the premier provider of innovative, high-performance technology, data, and analytics for first mortgages and home equity products. From point of sale through post-closing, the company's trusted loan origination system and power, as well as its integrated end-to-end origination solutions, really delivering our industry unmatched capabilities, functionality, support, to increase processing efficiencies, lower operational costs for lenders, as well as improve the home buying experience for borrowers. And can't think of a more consequential time where we're all focused on margin compression within the mortgage industry, while at the same time continuing to improve those technological and operational efficiencies that Black Knight's really here to lead the charge within the mortgage technology space and helping clients of all sizes conquer business challenges and provide our lenders borrowers with advanced digital capabilities as they're increasingly expecting from a experience largely dictated from their mobile devices. So on that note, let's go ahead and welcome in Black Knight's Craig Redman, Origination's production manager for their Origination Technologies division. And Craig is directly responsible for Black Knight's mid-market loan origination software platform, Empower, and works directly with clients out there to better understand their business challenges and what they need from a technology perspective to maximize opportunities in today's competitive market. So on that note, Craig, I want to welcome you in. Thank you for joining me and hope you're doing well today.
Doing great. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. Really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time out to join. And Let me jump right into the discussion here. So, first off, mortgage technology has really come so far in recent years and probably sped up by some of the results of the pandemic that we've all been facing. And I think, everywhere you look, another new application is claiming to optimize this or that piece of the process and kind of represent themselves as the silver bullet to the mortgage industry. From your perspective, how can lenders reap the greatest benefits from this new technology-focused landscape?
Yeah, really, it's been really interesting over the past decade. There's just been this explosion of digital technology. It's really led to kind of less looking for one solution to do everything and a lot more support for kind of this aggregated, best of breed components kind of an approach, which really is, pretty fantastic on the surface when you think about it, putting together this collection of, best of breed components into an overall solution that you can go and attack the world with. But I think what lenders are really finding is that it can be extremely challenging to determine the best systems for your needs, navigate the ever-changing landscape of providers. Seems like there's constantly new entrants coming in. So I think that's really started to generate some fatigue and confusion among lenders about the fintech disruption, and it's really been pretty palpable. The time that they spend sourcing out their own spot technology solutions, if you look at getting a product and pricing engine, a compliance provider, a rules engine, a business intelligence system, and point of sale, and on, really ensuring that all of those pieces collaborate effectively with your loan origination system and that they're all kind of marching to the same beat. It's a pretty massive undertaking. And that's especially true since really not all technology necessarily integrates with each other equally. In some cases, it may work really well with one platform for some of its features, and other features that it has might be optimized under a different platform. So there can be a lot of variety between what you look at and what you end up getting in that respect. So really, best of breed has become a direct result of that fintech explosion. Really, every solution is trying to be the best in the market for its specific use case, which is great. A really good example of that is point of sale. If you look at the number of new entrants in that space since 2015, it's pretty amazing. But the strategy really adds further challenges because you end up with this overlap of capabilities. Should the point of sale be doing X, or should the loan origination system be doing X? You can end up actually at the end of the day with some higher cost per loan as well when you individually source some of these components versus looking at a bundled solution. Increasing the support staff to manage those various integrations, issues with potentially a less effective integration than what you thought it might be, and just difficulty triaging across providers. It can really become challenging for lenders. So worst case, you end up spending more time, more effort trying to ensure that all of your various technology pieces are integrated effectively than you are building your book of business. And you have to do it yourself too. So, sure, some of your partners are going to help you with that and help you get through that, navigate that array. But really, you've assembled a collection of tools that you have to make work together with your process. And that really can be a challenge. So lenders, I think, really benefit most from a purposely designed ecosystem, one that still gains the advantages of componentization, but all of those components are designed to work well together, from technology to technology, from process to process, really enabling some synergies throughout the pipeline and revealing new opportunities for efficiency, for growth, and for retention. And when they're designed to work together like that from the outset, really a collection, a purposefully designed ecosystem can really outperform a patchwork of best of breed capabilities.
Yeah, no question. You bring up so many great points in your response there. To your point, it's very easy to drive up the cost per loan and the overhead when you are, sourcing out so many different technology providers that fit into that origination process and ecosystem. And I've got to imagine it's got to be hard to build up that strong of a rapport with your partners and make all those different components really work in a synergistic way that provides kind of the optimal borrower experience that you're looking for.
Really getting everybody on the same page, marching towards the same path can be a real challenge, right? If you look at putting together your roadmap of what it is you want to have, what your target business need is that you're trying to address, one or two of your partners may be right in line with you, but you may have a couple of other partners that's a lower priority for. One of the benefits of a single, kind of all-in-one ecosystem is those focused, those groups can all focus on one problem and attack it together in a little bit more of a focused way. So even beyond the provider sourcing pieces and navigating all the different solutions that are out there, just even from the standpoint of making sure that going forward, everything's aligned and marching towards the same objectives is really a key advantage of an ecosystem type of an approach.
Oh, it's a great points there. And, I kind of alluded to it in the introduction, but we've heard of like the Apple marketplace ecosystem,
Yeah.
similarly with Android, and we're thinking about our mobile devices. Is that kind of what you're suggesting here?
It's certainly something very similar. I mean, in the sense that all of those various pieces are designed to operate together, eliminating friction and making those elements work well together. Yeah, that's certainly true. But when we refer to an ecosystem from a Black Knight perspective, we really mean more than just that. Really, the Black Knight ecosystem is, of course, made up of some best-in-class technology solutions that are designed to work well with one another, which is really kind of a key tenet of what Apple has done. But the other piece of it is really the people behind those solutions, and that includes the lenders and the users themselves that we interact with regularly. Their input makes such a huge difference in what we end up putting out into the market. And having that great collaboration partner involved in the work that we do, I think, is a big difference maker.
No question. I mean, I think it's very vital to mortgage lenders that are forward thinking and looking to leverage best in breed solutions, is knowing that their input is going to be recognized and to a certain degree, that it's able kind of implemented in their partner's process flow in making a better technology solution that they can implement out to their client base.
Yeah, right. I mean, listening is such a key component to the whole process. Without that feedback from our clients, and our client, like anybody's clients, they're always very vocal in what they're looking for, what they're wanting, what their objectives are, which is extremely helpful. But I think that input is so critical to the process and so important in being able to get make sure that we're aligned to the right priorities. It really helps make the whole ecosystem work. But then being able to focus all of that attention on those challenges makes a big difference.
No question. And you mentioned it too. I mean, Black Knight's really been at the forefront over the last few years of bringing in the industry leader solutions and different components of the origination process to really beef up the power behind Empower. I think of,
Right.
on the secondary market side, like the Compass Analytics acquisition, the most recent Optimal Blue acquisition. I think it speaks volumes to, Black Knight's intent within the marketplace to really create that optimal end-to-end solution.
Yeah, and really, sorry, not to
No,
interrupt you
go
there,
ahead,
but
please.
the idea there is really to put together those pieces that create that ecosystem, and being able to go from, throughout the entire life cycle with the loan, and have a lender be able to come and work with one provider to satisfy that entire process from start to finish. It's one provider to work with. It makes a big difference. But I think that's been a big component of not just when we look for acquisitions, but also when we're looking at innovations that we're building out on our own, trying to fill those gaps, plug those holes in that overall end-to-end process. Exactly right.
Absolutely. And I mean, we've kind of already touched on it a bit, but you work direct hand in hand with lender clients on a daily basis. So I'd love for you to expand upon some of the additional benefits out there for a mortgage lender when working with a partner like Black Knight, who takes on that ecosystem type approach,
Yeah.
and what those unique benefits are.
Yeah, sure. I mentioned the whole, just having one provider to deal with, and that makes a big difference. Just from the standpoint of working through the vendor management process, your annual, review processes, and keeping up the documentation, keeping the vendor approval piece in place is a lot easier when there's one, fewer providers, easier process in that respect. But it also helps out when it comes to managing the integrations and managing the way those pieces all work together, particularly when there's a partner who's managing that for you, ensuring that the different components work well together. and work well together for your use cases, that's a game changer. You're not the one who's having to coordinate everything. It's kind of like the difference of, earlier we were talking a little bit about the housing market right now, new construction and so forth. It's sort of like the difference between being your own general contractor and hiring a general contractor. Having to do all of that stuff yourself is stressful and causes a lot of headache, right? Having somebody do that for you makes a big difference and makes it easier for you and takes a lot of that pressure off.
Yeah, I mean, all great points. And I think too, just you kind of touched about it early on, but the diligence process of assessing top providers, within the ecosystem that can fit your needs, having that those core solutions all under one umbrella, to your point, kind of takes a lot of that away and allows your team on a lender side to focus on different components of their operation. I would imagine too, makes it a lot easier to stay relatively up to date with, kind of the latest and greatest enhancements or innovations that are coming down from the different components under the Black Knight umbrella, and not having to do nearly as much diligence to figure out how does that play with your other components in the origination process.
Yeah, and a key piece of that is also not just staying up to date with the key changes, but as they come out, they actually are working with the rest of your platform. So, when a lot of times you may have a great partner, a great provider who's putting out some fantastic features, but getting it to work with everything else is just kind of a bit of a challenge, or time consuming, or there's delays because you're dependent upon another part of the platform making a change on a similar timeline. Those kinds of things can be coordinated when it's a single ecosystem. And that as a result means that those super cool features get to market faster.
Which is so important, these days, where the marketplace, has never been more competitive, and you've really got to be on top of your game to capture as much market share as you can while it's out there before, somebody down the street is claiming your client when they've got a more efficient process.
Yeah, and speaking of process efficiency, really mapping all of that out across those different platforms, and having that well coordinated process. When there's one system of record, for example, one of the benefits of the ecosystem is there's one database system of record that's really driving everything. You don't end up with this situation where you have kind of conflicting needs, or trying to sync data between them, or kind of overlapping data between systems. All of the data and status information ends up in the loan origination system where it belongs. So you have awareness of kind of what's going on in all of the applications. The loan origination system ends up serving kind of as the brain or the conductor of the process, which is pretty normal, I think. Sending out notifications and throughout the ecosystem, calling on various components as needed. But it also responds well to the different components that are calling it. So point of sale, for example, getting that interaction that is borrower initiated, and having that operate within the system well.
Absolutely. Quick reminder, everybody out there, this is the latest edition of TMC Tech Talk. I'm Tom Gallucci, joined today by Craig Redman with our partners at Black Knight. Any questions, comments you may have, feel free to drop them in the Zoom chat. And if we have a couple minutes at the end, be happy to address those. But continuing in here, Craig, thinking about the ecosystem, and within an ecosystem where everything is designed to work together, as we've kind of discussed, different components of the origination process that need to bidirectionally speak to one another for everything to really flow seamlessly. How does this impact a lender, I guess, from a day-to-day workflow perspective, if they're aligned with a provider like Black Knight, kind of has that end-to-end solution in place?
That's a really good question. And I think, really APIs are the foundation of the whole system and really help drive that. So through the APIs and event notifications, there's automation that can funnel relevant information where it needs to go, when it needs to go. And that starts to enable a lot of key processes. It includes the ability to notify users and systems generally of any changes that are made. But it's not a closed ecosystem either. The APIs allow for a favorite vendor to be integrated into the platform as well, and have those services added, or downstream systems to interact more fluidly. It's one thing to have data it passed off to an operational data store and be able to access it for reporting purposes. It's something else that have APIs that those downstream systems can then interact back with and start feeding information bidirectionally. And that makes a big difference in the way that the workflows and the way that processes operate really across the whole platform for the lender.
Yeah, imagine this to be hugely impactful too, to be able to aggregate those different data streams that you're seeing through the different workflows in the process, especially when they're all aligned under one core provider. It's got to create, I would imagine, demonstrably more impactful, actionable insights for an operational team, for example, on the lender side when working with a platform like Black Knight and Power.
Absolutely. So the Actionable Intelligence Platform, AIP, is a good example of that, taking that data from really across the ecosystem, across the platform, and making sense of that, producing dashboards for operations teams, but taking it another step further. And actually, as you drill down through those dashboards and you get into loan level information, you can actually click on one of those loans and it'll open the loan in Empower. We call it deep linking, and it allows for that that loan to actually, there isn't anything that makes intelligence more actionable than actually being able to jump into the loan and make a change and do what you need to do directly from the report, if you will.
Yeah, which is an extremely unique benefit. I think too, we've felt this a little bit firsthand, and I think Black Knight has done a phenomenal job in thinking about the evolution of Empower and how can it be not only accessible from a cost and workflow standpoint, but really be designed to cater towards maybe smaller mid-market lenders, which are very core to the Mortgage Collaboratives network. And I think sometimes there's preconceived notions that because of the size of Black Knight, everything that's under Black Knight's umbrella of solutions and technology services, that maybe Black Knight's not attuned to be the fit for me as maybe a smaller mid-market lender based on my more synchronized needs. And I think it couldn't be further from the truth, just in our experience with partnering with Black Knight. But I'd love for you to provide some feedback on how smaller lenders can benefit from an all-in-one system, because it's not only accessible toward just the largest originators in our industry.
Yeah, that's right. Really, I think Black Knight's had a reputation for a very long time of being catered towards the largest lenders in the industry, and certainly the Empower platform kind of made a lot of its reputation in that space. But the reality is that lenders of any size can benefit from an ecosystem that's been put together from these various components that bring these pieces together. So really, when looking for the right fit, there's a few important things to think about. One is certainly scalability, which is critical for smaller lenders on the growth trajectory, right? Especially when the market is more volatile. A scalable system can adapt to your changing needs as you go forwards. Configurability is really important in that too, because as you grow and as things begin to take off for you and you start entering other corners of the business or enter a new channel, being able to configure those things rather than requiring on code changes in order to implement those into your process makes a big difference. And then sourcing is, I know we talked about it, but sourcing becomes much easier too. And smaller lenders have even less capacity to deal with all the vendor management components. So that makes a big difference in the process too. Really, Black Knight's committed to investing further in market-leading innovations and kind of and acquisitions as well, to future-proof the business, to really ensure that the best of breed technologies come to you and that you don't have to go source them. The origination technology process and the ecosystem we're talking about works with the broader Black Knight ecosystem of mortgage servicing and real estate, and housing and mortgage finance data, secondary marketing, capital markets. So there's a lot of different components to that whole piece that really a lender of any size can benefit from.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's a unique benefit to smaller lenders or those in the mid-market to feel confidence in aligning with a provider and platform that's been tried and true towards some of the biggest mortgage lenders and banking institutions doing mortgage lending, within our industry, and know that it can work just as efficiently for them. And I think what's really cool too is the way, like through our partnership, that Black Knight has really brought together some bundling of solutions you alluded to earlier within the origination technology to really help from a price point perspective too, where I think lenders at that size feel like, oh, this just isn't an attainable platform for me. And Black Knight's really done remarkable things to sharpen the pencil and create an ecosystem and a loan origination platform that is completely accessible from your largest lenders all the way down to your smallest neighborhood lenders.
Yeah, really, when we're looking at a variety of services that we're putting together into a solution for a client and listening to what their needs are and what they really need, what they don't really need, in order to support that effort. You're right, we can really sharpen the pencil on that and put together a bundled approach to pricing that makes it easier to manage and maintain, and makes it a more digestible kind of a process. And it tends to be success-based pricing as well. So it's per closed loan generally, so you're not running into those situations where you're paying for the stuff you're not getting funded on, or you're not revenue tied to revenue. That's kind of the approach,
which is extremely important to lenders too. Plenty of
right?
solutions out there that price by per application, and think of how many applications that get started with the system that get that don't make it to the closing table too, and the amount of overhead that can be realized from that. It's a really dynamic model.
Yeah, one other thing that that is a benefit of the history that we have with the larger lenders is there's a lot of variety in terms of what they offer, and what they're in a lot of corners in the market in some cases, and that's a good thing. But the reality is that smaller lenders and mid-tier lenders have niche business too. They have specialization. They have specialties that, if you're really looking at a solution that is kind of out of the box, it's a suited for all people kind of an approach, sometimes you end up kind of missing out on some of those opportunities to pursue opportunities that are unique to your business. And the configuration capabilities within Empower really open up a lot of those kinds of channels for you, give you an opportunity to get into some of those areas.
Yeah, no question. I mean, it really should create a level of confidence to lenders of all sizes out there that, in working with Black Knight, no matter how unique or their processes or the amount of niche products they may have under their umbrella, at this point there probably is little to nothing that you and your team at Black Knight haven't already seen in working with other clients, particularly Empower, in the past.
Yeah, certainly have had a lot of experience, but a lot of different colors and shapes and sizes of the market. So yes, absolutely.
Well, Craig, I really appreciate your insight today and taking the time out with me. And I want to give a special kudos to you and your team for really what Black Knight's doing within the origination space right now to kind of disrupt the status quo and bring a lot of different solutions under the origination umbrella that are truly best in breed, all accessible to lenders of all sizes and scope. So we're real champions for what you guys are doing, and excited to see what's coming down next from the future innovation at Black Knight.
Thank you.